Hey, y'all, we're working on the challenge in what is a function's purpose. We're told to complete three functions here that will sort of interact with each other. That is, find divisors is prime and find next prime. I'm going to just jump right into it. The first function is to find all of the divisors for n, some integer. And I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption that we want to include 1, but we don't want to include the number itself. It's asking me to return a list, so I know that finding a list or defining a list is the first thing that I'm going to need to do. Now I will go ahead and use a for loop. I'll say for num in a range, and I want to start at 1 and end at n, and that way I won't be including n, but I will be including 1. And I can say if n is evenly divisible by num, that is, if modulo division gives us 0, a remainder of 0, then I will go ahead and say divisors.append, and I will append that number to my divisors, and then I can simply return my list of divisors. Now, in my isPrime function, I'm trying to determine whether or not a number is prime, and I think about what a prime number means. That means its only divisors are 1 and itself. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and say if, first thing, right, I'll go ahead and get my list of divisors using my previous function and assign it to divisors. And then I'll say if the length of that list divisors is only 1, that is 1 is the only number in that list, then I can go ahead and return true. And otherwise, I can return false. I could use an else statement here, but I actually don't need to. I can just simply return false. And then the last thing, it wants me to find the next prime number. The first thing that I'm going to do, I don't like to mutate my variables inside of a function, so I'll make a copy, and I'm going to go ahead and call it count since it's sort of a counter. And I'm also going to use a Boolean flag here, and I'll set that as false. We'll just assume a number is not prime until we find out otherwise. And then here, I want to iterate, and unfortunately I can't use a for loop because I don't know how far I'm going to have to iterate. So I am going to use a while loop. And I'm going to say while not prime, this is while prime is false. While prime is false, I want to go ahead and check. I'm going to say if is prime for my count, that is, if count is a prime number, then I will want to go ahead and switch my Boolean flag to true, and I will want to make sure that I break my loop after I do that. And then if I do not break my loop, then I'm going to want to increment count by 1. And the last thing that I'll want to do is simply return that count. If it's prime, I'll break this loop before it gets incremented. It will be the value of the next highest prime number. I can run these tests, make sure we're in good shape, and I can see we're good to go.